Hey Booktube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I am doing my July wrap-up. First of all, I will try not to sniffle because I have been sick. I've actually been feeling pretty miserable the last couple of days, but today I've been feeling quite a bit better, and I think I still sound a little bit sick and I might look a little bit sicker on my nose and everything, but I really wanted to get these videos recorded because I am about a week away from my due date, and so I could go into labor any time, although it could still be a while, but I really wanted to get at least my wrap up and a couple other videos recorded really fast, just in case I go into labor and have my baby. So I'll just start with my stats. I read 11 books this month for a total of 3,505 pages. I also am no longer behind on my Goodreads challenge. I am right on track, although I kind of cheated a little bit. I feel like there were just some things, like I read The Littles with my 4-year-old daughter aloud to her, which is like a really short chapter book, and I counted it on Goodreads even though I'm not really counting it in my wrap-up. And like we got a pamphlet from church that was like 35 pages or something, and it was on Goodreads, so I counted it. But I really didn't want to be behind. It was driving me crazy that I was behind, and so I've caught up finally. I don't know if I can stay caught up with the baby and everything, although I am trying to do Booktube-a-thon, and if I do manage to do that, then I'm sure I'll get ahead slightly, because reading a book every single day for a week would do that since I'm already caught up. Anyways, the 11 books brought me up to 75 books read for the year. Of my 2018 TBR list, I only read one this month. That brought me to, so now I've read 10 out of the 64 of my 2018 TBR, so I'm not doing too good with that. I did DNF one book. It was a it was a marriage book. It was called The Proper Care and Feeding of Marriage or something, and I got not even halfway through and I was just like, this is a joke, I don't want to read this, and my husband and I laughed about it a lot, and then we got rid of it. Of the books I read this month, 7 were by female authors and 4 were by male authors. 2 were library books. I owned 4 of them. 1 was an audiobook and 4 were ebooks. Star ratings, I rated 5 of them, I rated 3 of them 5 stars, 5 of them 4 stars, 2 of them 3 stars, and 1 of them 2 stars, and I didn't have any 1-star reads. Genres, I read 1 classic, 2 fantasy, 1 mystery, 1 retelling, like a fairy tale retelling, 1 memoir, and 4 self-help books. 3 of those were baby parenting books, and 1 of them was just a general parenting book. And I did not buy any books this month, just like I promised my husband I wouldn't, because I bought so many last month and the month before, although he did buy a book like for his business. So we did end up buying a book this month, but it wasn't me. And I ended up donating 3 of them, the marriage one and then 2 parenting ones. So the first book I read was a memoir called 10 Days in a Madhouse by Nellie Bly, and I rated it 4 stars. So Nellie Bly was a reporter who went undercover in a madhouse in the early 1900s when the madhouses were just really horrible, and the people there were treated horribly, and people who actually shouldn't have been there were committed, and just different things like that. And she wrote a book about it, a memoir about it, and released it to the public, and then that actually really helped to bring up the standards for the madhouse conditions for like people with mental illnesses and things. And it was actually really interesting. It was really sad and hard to read, but it was kind of short, and it was a very interesting read. Next I read Secrets of the Baby Whisperer by Tracy Hogg, and I had really high expectations for this book, but I actually didn't really enjoy it that much. I rated it 2 stars. I felt like she was kind of I don't know. I didn't like the way she talked about babies. Like her premise is that we should treat babies with the same respect that we treat adults, but then her application of it is that we should treat babies like adults in a lot of ways, and she kept trying to like draw parallels. Like she basically says she says in the book very blatantly that you should not put a baby to sleep in the kitchen or living room because it's so disrespectful. It's like us trying to put our beds in the middle of a supermarket. And I was like, no, I've let babies sleep in the kitchen or the living room or whatever before, and I've slept in the middle of the living room before with people walking around, and I don't feel like it's disrespectful at all. And so just different things like that really bothered me. And even though she had some good things in it, I felt like she didn't have anything new to offer me, and I just felt like there are a lot of other good books that you could read that have the same useful information in it. You don't need to read this one. And I don't know, some people really, really like it, but it was definitely not a parenting book for me. Next, I read Book Scavenger by Jennifer Bertman, and I rated this 5 stars. It was a middle grade book about this girl who... Okay, so there's like a lot going on. This girl, her family travels around, moves around a lot because her parents are trying to live in all 50 states. And while they're traveling around, this girl does the Book Scavenger, which is this giant, like, I don't know if it's just in the US or if it's worldwide, but it's this giant book scavenger hunt program that this guy, rich guy, set up. And they call him the Willy Wonka of the book industry. And it was a really cool idea because I would love if there was like the Book Scavenger in real life, you know, and I'm sure all of you would too. It was really fun to read. It was a middle grade, and I really liked the characters. I really liked the writing. The writing was so well done. The plot was super interesting, and it was full of different like puzzles and things because there were just a lot of puzzles going on, and the friendships in it were amazing. I loved the family dynamic and relationship that was throughout the book, and I honestly loved everything about it. If you enjoy middle grade, I think you would really enjoy Book Scavenger. There's actually more books after now I saw, and so I want to go and read those books as well. Next, I read A Year Without a Grocery Store by Karen Morris, and I rated this 5 stars as well. I thought it was very well done. It was basically about food storage and preparation for emergency preparation. And I thought it was very informative. It had a lot of really general principles, but then also a lot of really useful applications, which was really useful for me because I don't feel like I'm a beginner when it comes to emergency preparedness, because my mom and family growing up did things like food storage and 72-hour kits and things like that. And my husband and I are trying to do things like that, but then there are a lot of things that I actually don't know that I felt like she really helped me with, and it's actually not a very long read either. It was on my Kindle, and I think I got it for free or $1 or something, and so yeah, I really liked it. It was really useful. Then I read The Happiest Baby on the Block by Harvey Karp, and this was actually a reread for me. I am glad that I went back and reread it because there's a lot in it that I didn't remember, although I didn't love this book either. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was useful, but I feel like he always tries to like bring it back to like our beginnings and like the cavemen and different things like that, which was just kind of kooky to me, but it's like whatever. But I have used some of his tips with my previous kids, and I was really glad to reread and remember some of these things. This book is basically just about how to soothe babies that are crying, especially those who have colic, and he has a lot of really good information in it. And then I read On Becoming Babywise by Gary Ezzo, and this is also a reread for me. This is one of my favorite baby books. It's basically about how to get kids, babies, on a routine and sleeping through the night so that you can sleep and your family can all sleep and be happy. And it works really well for my personality, and I really love the information in it. And I know some people don't like Babywise, but I have used Babywise, the Babywise type program, for both my previous kids, and they slept very well at a very young age, and they're 4 and 2 now, and they continue to sleep very well. So I really, really recommend this book if you have young kids or especially a baby. I also had a whole bunch of other baby books I was planning to read, but as I was reading this one, and it was my 3rd baby book that I was reading, I just realized that there's not a lot more information out there after having 2 kids and having read the books that I've read that could be offered to me, and so I kind of ditched those books. I'm not going to read them anymore and just call it good. Then I read Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and I rated this 4 stars. I did enjoy it. It's a YA dystopian book. It very much reminded me of The Hunger Games, not the plot, but just the feel of the book, the writing style and the feel of the main character and all of those different things. It just the whole time reminded me of Hunger Games. I will say the plot was very well done and very well paced. I didn't love the main character. She felt kind of generic. I also didn't love the magic system. I never felt super it never felt I never felt like I understood it very well, like what it actually was. But I did really enjoy the politics in this and the whole plot. The one thing, it wasn't really my kind of book because it was pretty violent, and the violence, I feel like I can handle violence. Like Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson is pretty violent, but I feel like there's a certain way that the authors handle violence that is harder for me, and I felt like this one was harder for me to read. It was a little more, I don't know if it's just graphic or just, I don't even know what it was about it, but it did bother me. Then I listened to North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, and I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. Really love Elizabeth Gaskell. Her writing is beautiful. There would be times when I was listening and I was just like, wow, that was really a beautiful way of saying that. And I really loved the characters and the romance, and it definitely reminded me a little bit of Pride and Prejudice, but with its own uniqueness, and so I really enjoyed that. And I'm going to watch, Netflix has like a TV series, I think similar to the old Pride and Prejudice TV series, and so I'm going to watch that of North and South. So if you've watched that, let me know in the comments below and let me know if that's good or if there's a different remake that I should watch. I really liked North and South. If you like romance or Jane Austen or anything, then I definitely suggest that you check out North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. It's the only one I can recommend because it's the first one I've read by her, but I'm definitely going to be reading more by her in the future. Next, I read The 13th Princess by Diane Zahler, and this is a fairy tale retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. It's a middle grade, and I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. I honestly was just a tiny bit let down by the actual writing in the book. I think I was expecting it to be more like Elle Enchanted, which I believe is like one of the best, well-written, like most well-written books, fairy tale retellings out there. I just love the way it's written. But I did really enjoy it. The plot was so good. The twist on the retelling was really great, and the relationships in it were great. The characters I really liked. But yeah, it was a really good one for a middle grade retelling. Then I read Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman, which is the sequel to Scythe, and I really enjoyed it basically as much as Scythe. I've heard some people didn't like it as much and some people liked it more, but I liked it just the same. I'm also a little bit torn on this book. I really love the idea still. It just really hooks me for some reason to think about all of the things that go into a society with scythes and how they handle it and how society handles it. There's also a new character that we follow in this, which I absolutely love. The new character. I love his character. I love his character development. I love his plot. It's with the twists and turns and everything in it. I absolutely love that. I still really like the 2 main scythes that we follow, and I absolutely hate the bad guys in this. And yeah, the ending was not unexpected to me. It wasn't like I knew exactly what was going to happen, but it also wasn't like a twist ending, so there was that. It was kind of annoying. The thing that I'm on the fence about this with is I'm not sure how I feel about some of the moral things that the book seems to say are okay, and I'm like, I don't know if that's actually okay with me morally. I don't know how I feel about what that character did or whatever. There's also a scene at the end where I'm like, yeah, I didn't really like that. Although it was not explicit or anything with it, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Those are kind of my thoughts on Thunderhead. Any of these books, you can go check out my Goodreads for a written review. I feel like I do better with the written reviews than just like talking about them at the end of the month. But Thunderhead was very enjoyable. I will say it was too long. It was like twice as long as Scythe, and I felt like it didn't need to be that long. But I did really enjoy the story still. The last book I read was Making Children Mind Without Losing Yours by Kevin Leman, and I gave this one, I rated this one 3 stars. It was an okay parenting book. It had a lot of really good stuff in it. It wasn't like organized the best, or I didn't feel like he gave enough like really specific application things, but I did feel like principally I was on board with it, and it was kind of based biblically, but I just feel like I wouldn't recommend this or read it again because of some of the other parenting books that I have that are my favorites that I just absolutely love. And so this is one that I'm actually going to donate as well because I don't see any reason to keep it. So that's my wrap up. Have you read any of these books? Let me know in the comments below and we can chat about them. What books did you read last month? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching my video and I will see you in the next one.